Okay, I guess we need to do a call to order, we need to do, roll calls of people, whoever's gonna do that.
John Hauser.
Here,
And Tasha Padilla.
Here.
Okay. Camille Mountjoy.
Here.
Okay. And Matt Hunting.
here,
Okay. I think those are the 4 members of this committee.
okay,
Okay, so we do have some extra people. You're
Yeah.
Anna, and you were invited by Tasha, correct? What is your last name?
she was recommended in the minutes from back in June last year.
So she's another. Right, yeah, she had got. Yes.
Okay.
And then, which one is it? Yes.
Approval of minutes from June 22, 2023. Any questions at all? Tasha and I were the ones there, so yeah, and I'll second. Okay, that, I guess we have discussion, introduction, upcoming committee projects, introduction, members. So what do we need to do?
Okay, so, we would like to introduce, they were appointed by our mayor in one of our council meetings. So we have 2 new members, it is Mountjoy, and Savannah, and Mr. Matt Hunting. So, and Miss Anna, she was in our last meeting, she was.
Nominated to be part
Okay.
of closed session.
She forgot in the email that she was approved.
Okay,
The last sentence on the minutes
Yeah.
is adding her.
Yep.
Officially.
And then it went to the committee and then they had approved the
Okay.
minutes of the email.
So we're starting to.
I don't know if you maybe an overview or what we're gonna do or.
Well, that would be a good idea because we are new to
Okay,
this.
yeah,
So-
sounds good. I've been on here about 6 years, I wanna say. Tasha, how many years have you been?
I think for the total, it's pretty close to. 6
Yeah,
months.
so we've been around, and basically, you know, I'll be brutally honest on this, the frustration that I've seen is that, and it's listed in this minutes, we ask for meetings to happen more than once a year. To take a look at the money and I'm sorry, guys, I'm just going back to last summer. In the minutes on the last page here, it says, you know, that we wanna get together in October and November to review the lottery tax funds, because new lottery tax funds do come up throughout the year, our estimates might be low, and that never happened. There's new events that come up, throughout the year, the reason I had requested that was, because we had new stuff that had come up the year before. And I was scrambling to ask for money and, I had to like go through a virtual type thing, so I hope it's something we can correct, because the biggest frustration here is there's money to award. And it doesn't get awarded because, it's a one-time thing, so it would really help us. Even if it's like getting back together in like November, December. To review where we are, what we have available, so if we wanna hold another meeting in the spring to encourage. Maybe some new ideas, we do have a new Chamber of Commerce director, he might have some new events that he's bringing to town, stuff like that, to encourage people to come back to us. And visit.
Sorry, I
Okay.
did get a hold of Mr.
Steven,
Steven.
Yeah.
And so he said he was not able to attend today.
yeah, I mean,
And
no, it's
so-
fine, like I'm just giving you guys kind of a recap of.
Right.
I'm not trying to say, so that's one of the things to improve going forward. The purpose of this committee, from what, as far as I understand it, is we collect taxes throughout the year from our hotels and from our restaurants that go into lodgers tax fund. We usually have a pretty significant amount of money that we get to award out throughout the court that happens. We usually in the past been meeting once a year, and you can correct me if you want to step in, that's fine. Where we can award promotional funds for people to use for advertising. It's outside of Portales, so that's been our key. Last year, you know, there was some grumbling from our former chamber director because of we cut some of his funding on his promotional, but that was because he was trying to push everything internally here in the city, which fell without our line. So I think it's 70% of what you spend is what we talked about last year needs to be spent outside of the city. Because the goal of the advertising is to bring people to Portales to experience the event. So I can use the example like ENMU uses the funds for like to sponsor the isotopes. Well, we go ahead and that's an event where we get an in-game promotion. And I'm sorry, I'm just using the one that I'm very familiar with. We get an in-game promotion at every home game where we put up ENMU. We talk about the city of Portales. We're advertising to their 500,000 fans that they get through their gates during the season to come to Portales. And that's why that event for the last 6 years, I think, has been approved with lodgers tax funds. So COVID, I think because COVID was a really weird year for us and we paused a bunch of stuff and stuff like that, but so that's a promotional end is to get that. Then we have the non-promotional items, which is stuff that can be used to help, as far as my understanding goes, to pay for like internal operations of events, like again, I'll use the ENMU. I asked for money to help us pay for police and custodial for our concert that we do in April, because that's an internal use. You know, the rodeo will come to us and say, hey, we need stuff. Well, no, the fairgrounds will use that. Fair will say, hey, we want to use money to, you know, spray for the mosquitoes out there, like the month before the fair or something like that. They should include that because that helps. Hey, we know that's an event that's bringing people in and it's an internal, non-promotional use. And the city breaks out, you know, the promotional and non-promotional uses for us to use. And then what we do is they've already sent out the email to prospective businesses that usually apply for it. So it's usually the fair, the chamber, the rodeo, ENMU, and I don't know if there was anyone else last year, if I'm missing someone. The fair, ENMU, the rodeo, and the chamber. Yeah, and the chamber presented a bunch of different stuff. So we'll see what Steven brings this year for it. And then you guys also post it on your website, I think, too. So if anyone else wants to jump in to get it, and then what they do is they fill out the packages. And then what we'll do is on June 13th or whatever date we have scheduled, sorry if I'm missing the date, they'll come in and they'll present to us. And before the presentation, you guys usually send out a package that has everybody's presentation plus what monies we have available. And that way you see it, one side will be promotional, one side will be non-promotional, or whatever we call it. I might be saying the wrong term. And then what we do is we listen to the presentations and then we go into closed session and we look at the money we have available and then we award out. We basically, I call it sand down the budgets on some stuff so that we can make sure that we're underneath the amounts we have to award. And then we usually leave a little bit left over just to make sure that, you know, we don't go over that amount. And then that's where we said we wanted to get back together in the winter to see what we have available. So if we want to put out another posting and say, hey, there's opportunities to award more to help support events in the city in the spring. That was the concept behind it. The other big thing that I will mention that we need help with is to make sure that we get a better process in awarding the money, because we've had problems at ENMU and I'm still waiting on a check to, just so you guys know, for 2 years ago to come through. I was gonna ask about that later, and the chamber said it was like pulling teeth this past year. And I know it's not all on you guys, and I know there's been a lot of changes, so I'm not pointing fingers, I'm saying, hey, you know, I keep getting called for a business officer, hey, John, we can get this, so I wanna bring that up to say that. Actually, am I missing anything? I mean,
No, I would just say like the whole goal of lodgers tax, because I know it could be a lot, and you can go online, if you go to like New Mexico Hospitality Association. And there is the manual there, so you can download and it will explain to you like the rules of it, or if anyone needs that. I don't mind emailing that out, so if you guys wanna do a deeper dive into what it is, you can do that, but the whole goal of it is like heads and beds, because lodgers is what pays for this funding, so the more people you can get into the hotels, the more lodgers tax you create, the more money we can award to sponsor events and bring people to your community and stuff like that. So that is the main goal of it, is just making sure we can bring people from outside to your community to bring growth.
and it's a great program, I mean, it's helped ENMU immensely when we started bidding on this stuff back, I think 2018 or so. It's been, it really gets Portales' name out there, if you've driven on I-40 and seen those billboards with the Ralph sitting there, advertising Portales. That's, you know, one of our ways that we do a billboard. We had a problem with the billboard that the chamber put up last year that was pointed in the wrong direction down in Alamogordo. And I turned around and traded out one of our billboards to say Portales 200 miles with Ralph on it, and it's the old city logo, I'll admit that, we got to change out to the new one. But we advertise Portales.com right on there, and so there's stuff like that that, you know, we do as a university that to help promote Portales, to get people here through the sponsorships we do. That are the key thing, and I think this is what we touched on in the last year's meeting, was it needs to be more, how are you bringing people into the town? Not what are you doing in town to promote our in-town events to the audiences that already know what's going on, because that was our biggest problem last year is, and I can use, for instance, like we had, by the time we approved everything, we had a $4,000 ask from, and I'm hoping I'm not, like, nothing's confidential, like, it's okay to say this, so we had like a $4,000 ask from the chamber. And it was $4,000 to buy radio ads for the 4th of July fireworks. Well, by the time we were awarded, it was like June 22nd. So there was no way you could spend $4,000 with KSL in a week. So that's why we looked at it and went, yeah, we can't do this. So that was some of this, I'm just letting you guys know, that was some of the stuff we ran into in the past as far as when we're considering stuff. And also the rule was, I think it was 70% needs to be spent outside of 50 miles or something like that. So that was some of the stuff we watch when presentations come in for the promotional items, is we want to make sure that it's, how are we getting people, like how to say, heads and beds, how are we getting, what events are we doing, how are they advertising to, you know, if they want to do social media advertising, yeah, you can do Portales and Clovis, but you also need to be doing Cobb's and Carlsbad and Lubbock and places like that to encourage people to come in, spend nights in our hotels, go eat at our restaurants, do stuff like that. So that's the key thing here. So it's a great program. I mean, I talked to people in Clovis, and they say people fight for these dollars. So we're pretty lucky down here that, as I say, I feel lucky at Eastern that we get the opportunity to come to the table and, you know, we almost get, you know, it's like, yeah, good. And it's like that's why Albert Flynn comes from the rodeo, because he knows he's bringing in 700 people from out of town, and hey, anything we can do to help promote that is a good event, because those kids, rodeo athletes, fill up the hotels that weekend and stuff. So it's a good program, and I just think the big thing is we just got to clean up a couple things, and I know you guys have had staff changes, and you know, however we can work together with you guys to make it a good program, I think is good.
Yeah, I would definitely say more meetings as well too, because as the people who want to request it, they have to request it before, because then we're just the advisory board. We give our opinion and then it goes to the commission and then they have to approve it. So we need to make sure that we get our meetings in so that we can get it approved to go to the next commission meeting so that they can have the final approval.
Do you mind explaining that commission meeting? I mean, once
It
we
goes to
approve it,
council.
it goes to council.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was
And
thinking like a lodgers commission.
No,
No.
Okay, all right.
we make the recommendation, and city
Okay.
council just go, usually they just go, check, check,
Yeah.
check, you know.
Okay.
They typically always
Yeah.
just agree with what we say.
Yeah.
So I do have, I know we have an ordinance about lodgers tax, and it does, as of right now, what we have found is that lodger's tax meetings are only done once a year. I have not, seen one that has been updated, yet.
And any committee can have a meeting based on the call of the chair. City staff cannot do that, initiate that, that has to be at the request of the committee chair.
Okay,
Now,
I would like to compliment our staff that have stepped up in the immense turnover that we've had.
Mhm.
Because these ladies have stepped up tremendously for not just lodgers tax, but city council and public safety and all this. And I'm not saying you said anything wrong, I
Yeah.
appreciate all the constructive criticism, because we do want to fine tune this process.
yes.
And these ladies are very good about learning these new processes, and I think we can move forward in a very positive way. But the main thing as far as the frequency is figuring out who the legitimate chair is. And then y'all calling a meeting, letting the ladies know. That we get-
Well, I mean, I'm just letting you guys know background, I'm not pointing any fingers,
No.
it's that was a challenge, is that I was the chair. I've been the chair on and off over the years I've served, and I would literally bang my head against the table going, we want a meeting, and I couldn't keep them called. And, you know, it was falling on, and this is not you guys, this was, I'll be honest, it was a former city manager that would just ignore my emails for months. So, I think that's one of the things that we can do, because I know like, there's events that I'm on the chamber board, there's events that Steven's talking about there that might need, that we don't have planned right now, but it might come up this summer where it's like, hey, we could use $5,000 for this. And I think even if there's a way for us to be able to, you know, talk with you guys, and it's not gonna be overwhelming stuff, but if it's like, hey, the chamber needs $2,500 to promote a wine festival. Can we provide them $2,500, we have that money available, and then do an e-vote or something like that, however we need to do it, you know, that's just stuff that could come up this fall. That I'm seeing as far as stuff goes, because I organize, like, I know I got my stuff together for Eastern, but the chamber is gonna have moving parts that I see that could do something. And another thing for you guys, just as an FYI, that I remembered looking at the meeting notes is we do approve. The city does come to the table with some internal asks, so and that's one of the things that, you know, last year we approved, so if you guys wanna take a look at that for last year, because I know we usually almost automatically go thumbs up onto the next, so make sure you guys have what you need to, you know, when you look back at the documents.
Can I ask, so how do you determine who gets money and how do you determine how much they get? It seems like it's the same people over and
Well,
over
that's-
again,
yeah.
which I understand with the rodeo.
Well, what it is that it's who knows, is that you guys post it, it's a public meeting, anyone can apply for this. They, like, we've had signs come in the past to say, hey, we wanna replace a sign over the highway. For us to make money, and, you know, we shot it, we turned it down for, I don't wanna go into details of why. But, you know, there are it's just people have to know about lodger's tax. And
Can we, can
Go ahead.
we advertise that like on our Facebook page?
Sure,
You know, can we do flyers and just,
yeah, they have to get their application in, that's fine if they wanna run events, I mean. I think the biggest issue that you see is that the application of it has to be, you know, to bring people here. So we're not seeing there's not a lot of people out there that do a lot of outside events. A lot of it is, hey, we're doing, you know, Uncle Mike's is putting on a, you know, music event here at their town, or so it's drawing the local audience. And what Lodgers Tax is trying to do is to draw Albuquerque, Amarillo, Lubbock, Hobbs.
Well,
you
I
know.
think they would love
So-
to draw the bigger
So-
crowds.
Yeah,
I think if they had the money, they would advertise for that. He's a nonprofit.
oh, I know, I'm
And
just,
that was if you,
Yeah.
he would fill out the application, and the application is very detailed, so the application asks,
done
what are you doing,
Yeah.
what type of event? How many volunteers are you
And
gonna have, how many
anyone can apply.
people are gonna be there, and it has
Yeah.
to break it down, like, it says, I'm gonna advertise on, this radio station, I need $500 for that, it shows you exactly what they're doing, so then whenever they come to us, then we would say, okay, they have trophies here, okay, how many trophies you're gonna give out? How much of this do you need? and then we question
And anyone can apply, it's good, like, I just was saying Uncle Mike, I just. it was
No,
just
I
an
know,
example.
that's a good
So-
example,
so-
but the thing is you've got, they're doing events, sometimes their events come up with not a lot of notice.
Right,
The rodeo is the same every time, heritage is the same every time. You know, all of those are the same all the time, so they all know to get their stuff in early.
Yeah.
But if he's got a great band coming in, he's like, holy cow, I wanna make sure everyone knows about this.
Yeah.
It doesn't help him because we don't
well,
have.
but, and that's
meetings.
where I was saying,
Well,
if there's an opportunity to have the submission up. Throughout the year, and then if you guys see new stuff and you can I don't want it to go crazy on you guys, but if you guys are monitoring the budget and we say. Oh, hey, because. You know, X, Y, and Z happened in the fall, or, you know, we had, sold out weekends at the hotel and got more hotels in town and got more revenue than we thought. Anticipated, we got extra, and we've had a couple applications roll in. Yes, we can do, I think, if it's okay to do like an e-vote or a Zoom meeting or something to do a quorum and. Do a quick vote on what's come in if we have extra money, that's stuff we haven't done in the past though, so.
Because also from just a little that we've gone out there to go training and, you know. Also, isn't it supposed to be like where the taxes come back and stay here, like even in a local? I mean, they can make a big event, and then the point is to.
the head of events, bring
Yes.
it here, so
Yeah.
they stay in the
Yeah.
hotels and then lodgers tax basically
Right.
Well, it
again.
doesn't
Right.
And then
necessarily,
we bring back
Right.
more money
And it
again,
can be
because without
even
the
a local,
lodgers tax.
You know, that way it stays here.
But they would
so it-
need, it's like sorry, did you?
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like the concert that we just had at ENMU. Yeah, it's a local event that we do, but we advertise it on social media outside of our region to help get people here. And that's where we ask for the lodging tax funds to say, hey, we wanna put 2,500 people in our arena. We wanna put X number of people from outside of the town that are coming, that are staying in the hotels, so that the hotels are full. And they're gonna eat at our restaurants and stuff like that, and that's kind of the goal of like some of the local events that they can promote to. As far as, lodging tax, so if there's a big, one day music fest, like some of the places have been putting on in town, if they wanna say, hey, they wanna fill out lodging tax and say, we're doing an event on September, whatever. And we wanna promote it to, Roswell, Lubbock, Artesia, Hobbs, and we need $500, they can apply for it, so. It's just that I don't think, personally, I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of people know about it.
I
So,
don't think because, and I'm speaking from experience, we don't fully understand the regulations and
yeah,
the law
yeah,
about it.
And another
surrounding
thing, we
it,
only
so-
advertised it like in the news.
Yeah.
And so
It-
not a lot of people look at the
It
news.
was kept incredibly
Yeah.
local, I think
So-
by our predecessors even,
yeah,
and kept kind of small.
Well, on Main Street had to close up because
Yeah.
we couldn't afford to have a director. And here, we're paying $33,000 for someone at the chamber.
it's, I mean, it's
And
not.
that isn't even open on the weekends. Main Street was doing things for the weekends and doing all these things. And we got shot down every time we tried to we only got like lodgers tax once or twice. But when I saw this, I was like, we're paying wages out of lodgers tax.
Yeah, it's internal, that's that's not the promotional cost, that's that internal cost that we have, so.
But I don't see how, the visitor center isn't even open on weekends when we would have people visiting Portales or coming to Portales.
Yep.
So it's kinda, I don't know.
Well, that's something that he's
Every
gonna,
place I've ever been has a visitor center that's open 7 days a week.
yeah,
And so that people that are coming into town can say, oh, where can I go? What can I
yeah,
do?"
and he's gonna bring that to the table when they present and stuff, so. Darren, that's a question that he can raise. The board is, we're more than welcome to. Ask questions, and we've had other groups, when we did the wine festival in 2019, the New Mexico Wine Growers Association came in. And I think we awarded them $10,000 or something that they asked for, to help promote the wine festival, and that we had here. So it's, like I said, it's open, and I don't know if you're on the Clovis board, but yeah, how many do you have up there that applied for it? So,
tons, we don't
Yeah.
have enough money to support all of them.
yeah, and that's why we say, and what I've heard from up there, it's a fight up there for the money, so they come in and there's a long meeting and a lot of asks,
Yeah.
and here it's usually, yeah, here usually, now that, Carl's not on, I guess not, when he, with him retiring, I mean, if we get the same people, should last enough. You said that's about 2, Carl, for that, so. Go ahead, he would go pretty slow.
So any little business can apply for,
If they're having an event,
Yes.
yes, that's the key is an event that's gonna draw people from outside the community, outside of Portales Clovis. You
Do you
know,
guys have a copy of the application?
I do, I just didn't bring it
Because
with
on
me.
there, it kind
Yes.
of breaks down the details too,
Mhm.
like this is what it needs, like
Yes.
this is what you have to do
So-
and stuff like that.
So you know, like when Hydration Station does their craft fairs and all of these different places.
You have to do it for like 3 days.
Yeah,
Somewhere
they
around
they
there,
could come in, ask for that money so that they could advertise farther out so people would.
yeah, it would be like, hey, we wanna
And
get
get
on,
vendors.
we wanna go advertise on Facebook to, Hobbs, Clovis, Hobbs and Artesia, Carlsbad and Lubbock, Roswell. That's outside of the market to get money, and that is one of those things that, why, I'll just be honest, why has ENMU been so successful with our asks? It's because we push, hey, we're trying to get outside of Portales and Clovis, which you can correct me if I'm wrong, but not a lot of the other ones that apply are pushing usually the advertising asks are, well, we wanna advertise on Queso. Or we wanna put up 5 billboards in town, which is not what the Lodgers Texas meant, so.
Okay.
That's why we have all these billboards in town, voting for house that was older lodger tax approvals. So we think 1 or 2 are okay, but then it's like, okay, and then where are you going outside of town to approve, to put billboards up and paying? That's like the overall ask, but with social media out there, as long as they're pushing the, hey, we're gonna not, yeah, it's okay to advertise in Portales and Clovis. To do that, like, I did like the 90th anniversary celebration for Eastern, if you guys saw those ads, I paid for that myself. But then if I was using lodgers tax, I would have gone down to Roswell, over to Lubbock, and it's an extra couple communities that you're advertising in. And if the city needs to know, hey, what are your results, we can send the back end results and say, well, here's where people were clicking on our ads from in West
Because I
Texas.
know that on our application as well, it does give, where in return, we have to get like the results of what. And the numbers, and
Yeah.
I've read, just a little
Yeah.
through it. But it does ask also for that.
Yeah, and it can be as simple as sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's okay.
It's as simple as like, if someone wants to buy billboards, it's getting the numbers from the billboard company and say, how many cars per day go by these billboards? Like I know on I-40, it's 12,500 cars a day. People are seeing the billboards, it might be 15 now. But that said, and we're advertising, hey, come to Portales.
So
Yeah.
how long do those billboards stay up?
It's year to year, is what I
Year
do
to
with
year?
them.
Okay,
So it's year to year, and I'm waiting on Lodgers tax to renew for this next year too, so, and that's what we do. We promote, the billboards that are on I-40 promote Portales and promote student success stories, which help encourage students to come here. And that's what we try to do and visit Eastern and stay in the hotels overnight and,
And then
eventually
we
become
give our
students.
amount, and then if
Yeah.
they, like, say they sign a 5-year contract and we don't renew it next year, that's on whoever applied for
Yeah,
it to
it's-
continue paying.
We do, I do year to year with Eastern, I do not do 5-year contracts at all, because I come to you guys and say, hey, this is where we're at, what can we do? And that's the same thing I think with the chamber did do some multi-years, and I think I don't remember if they got stuck a little bit or not, but that's why we tell people, well, we don't tell them, but it's at your own risk, because it's if we have You know, if we go, someone signs a 3-year deal on a billboard and God forbid a COVID shuts down the country again and our lodger's tax collapse. Guys, that's on you guys. If we don't have the money, we can't do it. I think that's what happened in 2020 was it was like, if we don't have any money. You know, it was a very light award, so.
And then if you start getting like a lot of applications, you can notify, and then he can call a meeting, like if
Yeah.
there's multiple that you get at one point or something, or like a big one that someone's wanting to like start hosting a big event, like the wine thing, I
Yeah.
think that one was like a good example, cause they wanted to bring a wine festival here.
Sure.
And it was something new, we were willing to try it out and see
Right.
like, hey, how does this work and stuff, and is it gonna bring people, and you can call an emergency meeting, and then we can all meet up.
I think the best idea though is if we can change, how do we need to change the ordinance, if there's ways to meet throughout a couple of times, have a big group meeting. Maybe twice a year, and then be able to call meetings virtually when there's new asks that come. And that way people know, because I think one of the things that discourages people from applying is, like you said, Camille, is that, hey, Uncle Mike has a great band coming in, but it's November. And they just booked it and the band's coming in December, he can't apply for the lodger's tax funds because we're only awarding it once a year.
Yeah.
And he can't make a presentation right now to us in June, but if it's like letting Philip go ahead and know about it, and he can apply. Anytime throughout the year, people can apply, if you have it on your website, you feel free to apply, and then you guys can, if you have someone monitoring the inbox coming in and say, hey, we got an ask for $500 to promote this, here's what the budget is, if you guys are willing to do that. I know that's some more work on your guys' end, but it's just monitoring what we have in lodger's tax, so. It's usually the way we do it is we leave a little bit left in there, so. We don't blow it out of the water and say, we're gonna spend over because your former finance person, they've been doing this for years, said. Leave some in it, that was what she'd always say, just in case something goes haywire. So,
So there was another, in our training, about lodger's tax. They did, say that they do recommend like for, like goodie bags and stuff like that, the logo of the city of Portales. So that way they know that, you know, the lodger's tax fund does come from the city. Cause usually sometimes it'll say just Portales, New Mexico, well, it's the whole Portales, New Mexico, but in reality, they need to know that it's coming from, you know, the city of Portales. So that was one thing that, you know, every, entity that, you know, went there and, you know, did a discussion and whatever they did.
that's it, Hodgetown, that's what we do, is we put the city of Portales, that's over in Amarillo. We put your guys' logo on the video board, and it's part of the PA announcement too, so that's the way that people know, hey, it's. Lodger's tax, it's Portales, so.
And then just so you know, as you're getting the
Sorry,
application.
I just wanted to explain that. That's what we're doing.
You showed us that.
Make sure that they know that they want the money first, cause they don't get reimbursed. A lot of like new people, like if you start advertising it, they think that like, we're just gonna send them a check and then they get
Right.
to use.
And so that way
So
they
make sure
know,
they
and they're
understand
explained,
that as well.
That
yes.
it's a reimbursement.
It's reimbursed,
Yeah, it's
so they
reimbursed.
front the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a big thing, they have to submit the receipts
Okay.
afterwards, but they got, basically, first up, they gotta be awarded it. That they know it's coming, and that way they can spend it. So don't tell them, spend the money and we'll reimburse you, it's gotta be, hey, you gotta be awarded first.
Okay.
That you're gonna get the money, then you can spend it, submit your receipts, and we'll reimburse you.
And they'll get an award letter,
Yeah, from you guys.
so they know, yeah.
No, it's, if you got questions, feel free, now's the time, because the June meeting's coming, so.
Well, it's just if a spur of the moment thing came up and they already paid for all the advertising for it and everything like that, can they submit it back and see if they could get some of that covered if they have the receipts?
Did the event already happen or no?
Right, if it came up fast and they had a month to get stuff out and they advertised.
I would
and
tell them
everything
it's
else,
not a good idea, they need to submit it first, they need to, if they're expecting lodger's tax to pay for their stuff, they need to submit it. And
But if
then,
they already paid for it and they just thought, well, I'll give it a chance and see if they'll pay for it.
then I don't,
For the advertising. you
they'd
mean?
already paid for all the advertising and then they'd submit,
Unless they can, to me, unless they can prove they brought in 200 people to the hotel.
yeah,
It'd be hard.
I think that would be something you guys would have to look up in the rules about reimbursing after the event, because it's that's new to me, because every time I've looked at it, it's been planned ahead of time, so we know what's
Right.
coming. So that, because the big thing is you guys have the budget, and I don't think that's a good way to do things, because if someone's like, well, I can get reimbursed, let's say one time they do it, we do it. Well, then they go out and spend double that, and then they do it again and they expect to get reimbursed, and we're like, well, we have money in our budget to pay for this, then they're out $1,000 and they were, expecting to get reimbursed, so I think it's better, I think the key thing to tell people is plan. It's submitted, that's why we have the application and plan ahead of time to submit it, and if it's a month away, and I think that's something that it's up to the city on how far, that's another regulation that you gotta look up, as I say. How far out is the event before you can apply for it to expect to get funding, and that's another thing to take a look at, it's just like the 4th of July fireworks last year, it was middle of June when we met last year, and it was June 22nd. And we got a $4,000 ask for an event that's happening in 2 weeks, and we're like, yeah, this is not gonna happen, because you can't spend this, but then all of us here are gonna look at that and go. You can't spend that amount of money on the radio in 2 weeks, you'd be running an advertisement every break, nonstop, that's, so that's the stuff that you get from us who buy advertising too, is we'll be able to look at stuff and say yes or no, and or this ask is way too much, so.
I would even say a month would be hard to fool people. But I like the idea of multiple meetings, because like we meet June 11th, but let's say in July, somebody says, we're gonna do this in March. Well, that's plenty of time to bring people in, but if there's no meeting, sure stop up.
And just to clarify and reiterate, I think you guys are saying, like, in a situation like that, it would be helpful if we were to allow the committee to meet to decide on things and approve applications, like more than once a year.
Yeah,
Call an emergency meeting
Yeah.
in July, once we receive an application, and let you guys talk about it, because we're not the deciding
yeah,
points.
And like John said, if we have the application, like Zoom meetings.
Should be.
If we don't make it more accessible to other people, it's gonna be the same people getting the money every
And
single
so
time.
I do have
Yes.
a question. So we do have businesses from out of the city, but they advertise their business in town. So in the regulations of the business registration, they still have to have a business license because they advertise here and because they make their business here. But they live out of town, like outside of
so the
city.
business is here, but so you're
They're
saying like,
outside of.
you're saying like McDonald's, but the Snowburgers are in Clovis where they live, so is that what you're referring to?
No, like where they reside, like, we have business,
Trucking company in Clovis advertising.
yes.
Are they hosting the event here?
Well, I'm just saying, even,
Advertising.
yeah, because we have businesses that are outside that have a business registration. Now, if a business from the county outside the city, which advertises here, are they eligible as well to apply
Well,
for those?
I mean,
But make the event here, like in Portales, because this is where they.
Oh, yeah, and that's like the New Mexico Wine Growers Association came in, they're based out of Albuquerque. They said, we're doing an event here in Portales that's gonna help Portales, so we approve that. So if they're doing the event here in
Here,
Portales, it's important. If they're like, well, I wanna get advertising dollars to advertise my business that is based in Clovis, well, that's why you go to Clovis to
Correct.
do your library, you bid up there. But
Correct.
for like, hey, if it's the New Mexico Wine Growers wants to do a wine festival here,
Correct,
that is gonna help us drive people here, yeah, that's
Correct.
fine, people can have that.
okay,
So with like, yeah, the Wine Growers is the best, one that I've seen. As far as they came in and presented, and they got awarded the money to help promote that event. You guys have brought people into town from out of town.
because I know what Ms. Camille mentioned, with the page 2, what is the vibration?
Oh, the.
That is
from-
a pretty you know, 3-day little thing
Yeah.
that he does there.
Yeah.
He has like all of the vendors, like little businesses,
Right.
and that gives them the opportunity to promote.
But it's his, it would have to be H2O applying for it, because they're the host of the event, it couldn't be. You know, John's, sewing company from Clovis, I'm
Right.
coming to this event, I wanna advertise that I'm coming to this event, no, it needs
Correct.
to be the owner of H2O.
Yes.
Applying for it, is what I would say, so it can't be like this, it's. Like at the fair, you can't have an individual business advertising, I'm gonna be at the fair and we're gonna
Correct.
award money, no, it needs to be. The fairgrounds, is the owner of that event.
Correct.
Comes in and does their presentation.
So in preparation for the June meeting,
Mhm.
are you going to need to see the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what
So
we,
just-
like, I mean, week before is fine, what you guys usually do, I think the cutoff is June 10th or something for. Applicate, or what was it?
I think it's a bit.
Yeah, yeah, so what
Yes.
you guys do is just gather that, scan it, all the applications, plus, you guys usually do just the budget sheet, it should be, the one like last year is fine. It's just to break out what you have there, which shows the non-promotional with your estimations on what you get to each, and then it helps us, and then you send everybody the packet. And then what we can do is we can look at it and go, okay. This is what our ask, and then I think in the budget, you guys will also put, here's the ask number in red. So if we're over, this is kind of what we have to do, and then what usually happens is at the meeting, we go into closed session, we just. Check with you guys and say, hey, so we have this amount of money, just to be sure, and this amount of money. And then we go through each individual proposal and go, yes or no, and that's when they're presenting, so you guys that are new, when they're presenting, just mark notes. And you can ask questions too when people are presenting, but what you need to do is just mark, yes, I like that, usually that's what I do, yes, I like this. No, this doesn't fall in line with what we're looking at, stuff like that, and then when we go into closed session, we all get together and discuss it and say. Yeah, this is good, we like this, or no, or we need to sand this down, stuff like that, and years past, so everybody knows, is usually awarded pretty much. Most stuff, one we really take a look at hard has been the chamber, just because of some of the stuff that they. Like we discussed earlier, so, but usually we have enough money, we just sand budgets, we'll take. Say someone asked for 10,000, we might go back and say, well, we'll give you 8,500. So stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of the sand, when I say sand the budget, that's what we do to do that, so. But the city needs to look at last year, you guys do ask, I think it was like we I look at the thing. 4,566 to the city. Administrative. So. And that's something that you guys need to look at too, because we do it for the non-promotional, you guys have something that you ask for every year.
And so I had a question come up. And I think it was Mr. Albert Quinn. He came by and he asked about the capital outlay fund.
Is anyone online?
No.
Okay, I will be straight up honest to everybody on this. I've already talked to our business department on this. He can't ask for it. So it's not in our master plan. This is an Eastern thing. It's not in our master plan. So if he asks for it, it's not approved by the university. So I will straight up, we'll shoot it down. So he's not allowed to go at, he wants a viewing stand. And that is something that has to be in our campus master plan, and our business manager is supposed to talk to him about it. And so it's, yeah, I mean, we've approved in the past, like, hey, I need some money for improvements with the drainage system out there, which helps get the rodeo athletes in. We've approved stuff like that in the past, but capital improvements, that's stuff he needs to be fundraising himself or working with the university. So I'm just letting you know, sorry to do that.
Oh, I was just asking because I was like, you know what, I'm not sure, I will ask. Because in reality, I don't even know what a capital outlay.
Okay, what it is he wants to
So-
keep their building on the rodeo facility out there, they wanna add more buildings and stuff like that to continue to improve. The way I've looked at it in the past, and Tasha, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if it's the improvement that helps the event in terms of, like I said, the drainage system, where it's like, hey, we need to repair our drainage system out here to help, you know, so it's not muddy in case it rains, or people don't get stuck in the mud out there. We can approve stuff like that out of the non-promotional, but if it's like, hey, I just want a viewing stand just to add to the overall rodeo for my 10 VIPs, that's not something that's gonna
Yeah,
help.
you have to be careful what you do, because if not, we're gonna get lots of businesses asking for, I know like previously, even one of the ladies was always coming in wanting the ballroom floor.
Yeah, I mean,
And I was like,
yeah.
if we approve that, then I'm gonna ask for the hotels to get remodeled, like we're
Yeah.
gonna get ourselves in a
That's a good
situation
example,
that-
yeah, the ballroom floor, they kept saying, well, that, and we sit there and say, but the ballroom doesn't. If we repair a ballroom floor, that doesn't really bring people in there, but if it's like. If it's like fairgrounds comes to you and says, hey guys, we could use help with the drainage system, because you know, we're getting problems with water gathering and mud and mosquitoes and stuff, or like the mosquito spraying. That helps to keep people at the fair to spend money and keeping them coming in town, so we say, oh yeah, we can do that. But if it's a capital ask, we almost always, that was a good example, I forgot about that, the ballroom floor. We would just say, nope, can't do it, so.
And there's certain things that we support, like the fair doesn't obviously, like a lot of hotels, because a lot of them stay. In their campers or whatever, the workers and stuff, but there's certain things that we're kind of lenient with because it's something still good for the city. If we didn't have the fair, then all these kids would have nothing to do, so
Well,
there's
there's
certain.
people eating food, you know, the.
But I'm saying as far as like rooms.
Yeah, but it's not just for heads and beds, it's for the restaurants too, right? Because you're,
Yes, I mean, it's
you're
good that it
bringing
brings
people in
that,
to
but
eat
yes.
in,
There's
Lodge
tax
fair
for
too.
that too,
yeah.
so it's
But
combo.
isn't that a different tax? Like that doesn't.
It's
It
combo, it comes from this, is
It
that's why I
does.
say the restaurants
does,
do.
it does. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you guys pay lodger's tax
Uh-huh.
on every purchase over there, so yeah,
Yeah, that-
it's both.
That is why I was asking, you know, it's from the little that we, you know, learned out there in our conferences and everything, it. The lodgers tax and the businesses, that's why it's like for local, you know, like for the businesses, so they can come here and eat, so they can. You know, take a look at the new, you know, stores, little businesses that are out there that we have that are, you know. That is from what, you know, so like Ms. Camille said, that way it's not the same all the time. So we have different events coming in. And, you know, people coming into different events, not to the same ones over
Yeah.
and over and
And the
over.
capital event, like I said, go back to, is like when Steinman came in and wanted one of the signs over the highway there with lodger's tax. Sammy was still the city manager, and he stood up and said, guys. The purpose of the lodger's tax is not to repair items that are gonna have a business make money off of it. And that's one of the things he said to us, and that really died down, is that I would encourage you guys not to approve. You know, the Steinman signs, because you repair that, then they're gonna start charging people $200, $300 a week to put up signage, he says that doesn't help. So that's why we've shot down capital stuff in the past as well, so it's a good program for, it's basically, when I look at it, it's. What events are bringing people here, beds and beds, restaurants being full, stuff like that, and where are they advertising? It to get people in here, if someone comes in and says, I wanna spend $5,000 for house and Clovis. That's where we go, well, that isn't part of the ordinance and we can't approve that, and that's one of those things that, you know, we just gotta be careful, so.
Is this the style we're looking for?
I can actually, no, I can send you guys what we got last year, I'm sure I still have the email,
That'll
so.
help.
Yeah, it's just a straight, it's a balance sheet that you guys would give us every year, it should, I'll email it to you, I have the emails from previous years that I can
That
send
way
to
we
you.
can find which
Sure.
report to run.
Okay. Yeah,
Have the option.
yeah, the millions, right, TJ said million,
Not
most of that, so.
Million reports.
Yeah, they said million report.
Well, $1 million, well, I'm gonna like $2 asset.
You're gonna be by the rest
I'm gonna be out there advertising with Colorado Rockies, so I'm good to go. Yeah.
I think if we can get the word out to.
Yeah.
Businesses that don't know about
Sure.
what's available.
Well, the budget's taken out promotional and non-promotional,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying? So it's.
Yeah, it's a balance sheet, it's pretty easy to follow, so.
And
Okay.
I don't know how many of you are familiar with our loss of our former financial director, and currently we have a CPA consultant who's has experience working with governments. And he's been going through the budget, and he recently helped me get the final lodger's tax or the quarterly reports in, because that hadn't been done.
Yeah, it was,
We
So-
do have that. Would that be something you're looking for?
I will send you what we had last, I have the packet,
Okay.
still in my email, as soon as I get that, I'll send it to you guys, that way you'll have it, and. You guys can look at that report, it's really easy to read, I mean,
Okay.
we sit there, it takes literally 30 seconds for us to go, oh, okay, and then it's good to go and. That way you guys can find the template, and
Sure.
I'm sure it's somewhere, because it's the same one I've been seeing for years.
Okay. Well, and I think that was a part of our slowness and hesitancy in having a meeting like this too early. I know it would have been better. However, we didn't know where the budget was because.
No, we were trying to push for, we knew that before June 30th, we had to have a meeting, so, because that's when all the people of July 1 is when everybody's like, okay, we need the money to push everything, so. So yeah, this is good, I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me, Tasha, and we can do it, we appreciate everybody else for stepping up to serve, and like I said, last year it was me and Tasha and Ron Jackson, that was our lodger's tax.
Okay.
So, because we had people bail on us, it's not, like I said, it's not too intensive, so it's pretty easy to do and just fun to help people out and the word stuff people, so.
June 11th is the.
The 13th, I think.
June
it
13th.
is.
At
Yeah,
what time?
9 o'clock,
I think I put it at 9.
Is it gonna be here?
I think I put it,
yeah.
I think I put it at 9:30.
9:30, are we doing it at the Jake Lopez building?
No, we're doing it.
Is this big enough for, because usually we have a pretty good audience, of people
Yeah,
that
quite
sit.
a bit of people.
I think you should look at Jake Lopez, as we sit in the council chambers and then. People, they have to be able to sit, listen to the presentation, because I don't think this is. Gonna be big enough, because you will have with your staff, plus us, plus the people coming in to present, and it's an open meeting, so if anyone wants to come in and listen, they can, so I
Right.
highly recommend looking at the Jake Lopez. If it's available, so. Otherwise, you guys are gonna need to put about a dozen more seats over here, so.
We could do council chambers if we need a bigger.
That's what I was, Jake
The
Lopez.
council chambers would be a better recording.
Yeah.
And anybody zooming in will have an easier time. This room
Yeah.
is not meant to house these meetings.
Yeah, Jake Lopez, at the council chambers over there. If I'm saying it right, the Jake Lopez building.
The Memorial.
Memorial building, God.
Jake Lopez.
Oh, crap. Memorial building, sorry, I knew what I'm saying, people are looking at me, Memorial building, to have it in council chambers, that's where we always have it. And we-
It's a
yeah.
better spot.
Yeah, I mean, for this meeting, this is fine, Memorial building is where we usually have the actual meeting, and that way. People can come in and sit, we're all up on the council chambers side, sitting up there, listening to everything, and then we go ahead and rock and roll the meeting, and then people can come up to the podium and present.
Okay, I know you'll send out an invite, but again, it's June 13th, it's a Thursday, 9:30.
Yes, it is a Thursday.
Okay.
At 9. And I'll send out an invite. That way.
I just better get it on there now, and if I have to adjust time, that's fine.
And give yourself 2 hours, that's what it usually takes. No, because it's
It's okay.
it's also an hour presentations. I'll be honest with you, I don't,
We have to debate.
I mean, we can have other people come in, but. Honestly, it's gonna be the
Yeah.
same people as last year pretty much, but that's why I do wanna encourage another meeting in like this November, December, so we can. Let people know, because I've had it 2 years ago, you were on the email, I was banging the table going, I have an event, I need more money. And it took me 3 months to get a meeting together, so, you know, and that's where we wanna see if we can try to do, I think twice a year would be good, and then with the alternative to have. Like Zoom meetings where we can look if there's other applications that come in for events that are upcoming. But usually with Lodgers Tax, you guys don't, it's like, the way I've done it is like you have to plan out ahead of time to ask for money because it is what is available and it is working with the city, so that's why it's like, hey, you guys got other jobs too, so that's why.
It used to be twice a year, because when we used to apply for it, it's been 10 years ago, but for Main Street, when we would apply.
Yeah.
There were 2 meetings a year and we could come in and request it, so.
Yeah.
Why don't we put the ordinance on y'all's next agenda for y'all to update it,
Okay.
and then we can get it before council, that way. We can make it what fits what y'all feel is best for this committee, and then that'll just help things moving forward, regardless of staff who's here.
Right.
I think it'd be easier for the smaller guy to ask for money.
Yep.
You know, the big guys, you guys know what's coming up. You know, they're on the books every year.
Yeah,
They know.
yeah, well,
Well,
you
and it
know,
would probably be a lower amount for those, say, emergency requests.
Sure.
yeah.
But I think that would be appropriate and meet a need.
And but the other thing I think is to help you guys is that we should consider a deadline of like. If it's 6 weeks before an event or something like that,
I always
Yeah,
think like
like-
even 60 days.
Yeah.
Cause it's tough.
yeah, 2 months.
We ran events and you can't in a month get the word spread to come into town.
Exactly, like when we had.
Yeah.
When Main Street was trying to do stuff down there.
Yeah.
It was tough. And they were great events. I mean, people came from all over the
Yeah.
place, but it was,
Yeah.
didn't have enough time to request it.
Yeah, so 60 days is a good idea.
And just a reminder, we did put our application online.
Yeah.
So-
Is that coming through the revised stuff?
Yes,
Perfect.
yes, so it's the IFRA
Yeah.
and then.
No, it doesn't come through revised, we just put it up online and they pull it,
Yeah,
And
and
then
then,
they email it,
yes.
yes,
That's what I, yeah.
yes, so.
would be beneficial to look at putting it on the revised or not?
We can,
Cause I mean, it goes.
So
to
the revised system is what we use on our website to report everything. Whether it's an application for a new water connection, a pothole, a water leak, dumpster. To where they click on it, they fill it out, it automatically sends the people that we select an email saying this application is done.
and if it sits more than 48 hours with those people, it escalates until it eventually hits the top.
And with the issues that y'all are expressing, I think that would be a potential beneficial thing to one, help these ladies.
Right.
And again, regardless of who sits in which chair. And we'll get to somebody that will get the wheels turning.
So if we have like one application, come in. And we only have that one application. We'll come up and do the meeting for just that one
I
application.
mean, just doing it on Zoom would be
Yeah.
fine, I think, you know, but the key thing is, do we have the money, and that's
Right.
the stuff too, because if we're like, hey, we don't have any money. Then I think the automatic response to them is, hey, we don't have a budget right now, we apologize, you
We'll
know?
hold your application.
Yeah.
Our next funding. cycle.
Yeah, so that's the key thing that you guys will just have to watch is call, if you wanna call a meeting, I think it's gotta be because we have the money.
Yeah.
If it's, hey, we don't have the money to approve this ask, if someone comes in and asks for $50,000, you know, in August and we just spent all our money, I think it's a pretty simple. I'm sorry, we don't have this available funds, please look to apply in the spring for next year. So-
Or we should start
so-
giving them as much money as they can get. So there is some money in there for people if they call it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they just, I mean, smaller businesses, yet we don't see it, I mean, that's the thing, is I don't think they know about it. It's like, hey, if you guys are doing cook-off or something like that, and you wanna advertise it outside.
Yeah.
Apply for it, you know, but even if it's $500, say, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
I think that was the big problem, like advertising these
Yeah.
applications. Because from what we did, it was just advertised in the newspaper.
Yeah,
And so I was like, oh my goodness, you know, I was
Yeah.
gonna advertise it, you know, everywhere.
Well, I'm good.
But
but
the thing is that I didn't know, since this is our first time, so I
Yeah.
didn't know how it was supposed to be
yeah,
advertised.
feel free if you wanna put it out on
And-
Facebook and. your
Because from what we
social
had
media, so.
prior, that is what we went.
Yeah.
You know, but
And that's why it's always the same people.
Yeah, and so I thought, oh no, I was like, we need, something else, cause I did look back at the applications and it's like the same was over and over. And then we go to a training out there, for like a whole week and we get this big old thing about lodger's tax and I'm like, So I came back and I'm like, and then whenever we did the advertising, we just did it through the newspaper and I thought,
Yeah,
it does
feel free.
newspaper,
Well-
nowadays, so I was like, why did we pay for this if we could have done this?
Facebook is one of the best pushes.
Yes, so I thought, you know what, we'll just go by what was done prior, then we go to the meeting, we go into the meeting, we suggest all these little things that can help all these little communities, businesses, restaurants that know, because right now, like, they don't know.
Well,
That's
and the
main
thing is if they get turned down because of budget, there's not enough money, they'll be discouraged and not ask again.
Right.
We got turned down so many times for Main Street, and it was legit stuff, it was stuff that was bringing people here and doing stuff. But someone didn't fill out the paperwork right, or something like that, you just like, don't even ask them, because they won't have the money, or it'll be something, so that's why we need to try to make sure there is money in the budget for the little person hydration station comes.
Right.
Can I have $500 to advertise and stuff, and we say, oh, it's not in the budget, but they find out ENMU or the rodeo or all these people got these hundreds of thousands, and not hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Thousands of dollars, and they're just like, well, no.
Well, I mean, the big thing I think that discourages some people is it does take a while to fill out the application. And they have to provide their W-9 and stuff like that to make sure that they get it in, but that's the rules. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is someone gonna spend 20 minutes filling this out if they're only gonna get $500?
Right, and
That's
another
why I
thing-
think it's happening. But I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, I think that's good, because
Right.
it makes someone have to commit to wanting to do this, and then they have to commit to coming to the meetings that we have to present to us to tell us why they want this, and that's.
And another thing is I was talking to my city clerk on our way back over here and I thought. I got back and I started to look, at the applications and I was like, you know what, I wanna do something. Where everybody knows, cause it was the same thing over and over, like Ms. Camille said. And I thought, we have all these other businesses and restaurants that, can have the opportunity. And I didn't understand why, so that's why
So-
we're asking why, questions, because we wanna do things differently where. If Ms. Camille applies, for an event that she's gonna make. Or that she's gonna do, she can have the opportunity and then people, other, businesses are gonna be like, hey, well, she.
One question I have, and I don't know if we can word all of this, because if we put it out there, it's the ones that are doing a lot of festivals now are the cannabis dispensaries. Are we allowed to award cannabis dispensaries? That's my question, because you might have a couple of them that come in and say, well, I'm having I'm doing 420 Fest and I'm bringing in all these bands.
And I know, at the Lodgers, there was nothing mentioned about it.
Pride came in.
Well, I'm not,
For-
Pride's okay, what I'm
yeah.
saying is because the federal designation with marijuana,
Exactly.
is it still illegal, statewide, it's legal? What is the rule is what I'm asking, if Pride Fest comes in, hey, that's fine, they're an independent group, but I'm saying marijuana.
Yeah.
Is still federally illegal, it's legally statewide, so what I was asking is what's the rule, because if we open it up, you might have. The guys that own one of the weed shops come in here and say, hey, I'm doing 420 Fest in April, I'm bringing in these bands, I wanna be able to advertise, I would like money. Can we approve, because it's federally, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
That was my question for legal,
Yeah,
and or the other option is to try it, send it to council and see what they decide.
They're bringing a lot of people in from Texas.
yeah, and that's the question, because I
Yeah.
guarantee if you open it up, you're gonna have some of the cannabis dispensaries go, well, I'm doing this different festival, because that's what I see a lot of the times, is they're doing different festivals. At their stores or spot or people like that, if they get wind of it, are we even allowed to approve? We got.
Good
One
question.
problem is they do bring in people from Texas, so then are we encouraging taking. it
illegal
as
activity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
So,
that's a
yeah,
good
that's not, yeah, it's illegal in Texas, it's illegal in Texas too, so can they even advertise it? The
When
festival
you
in
go,
Texas?
like, I
No.
did
And then
They
the
won't have
taxes,
advertise like a
the
billboard
gross
type
receipt
of
in
thing.
Texas.
They can advertise the stores in Texas, but they can, from the billboards, but they can't, I don't know if they can advertise the events in Texas. On social media, because it's illegal over there, so that's another question.
Yeah.
The
So-
Canifest that I went to, because I have a laser, and I do a bunch of stuff. They didn't even sell cannabis there.
Right,
It was not even allowed, you couldn't even smoke where we were at, but it was Canifest.
yeah,
And we sold like all kinds of, art. and stuff
right,
like that.
I just was asking that because
Yeah.
that's my, like, with the number of marijuana dispensaries that are in our town now.
Yeah,
And them doing events, you open it up on social media, that's a question that we kind of need to answer is, can they legally advertise outside the state, can we award lodgers tax funds for that? Because if they say,
yeah,
if I'm doing social media, even if you say, oh, I'm just advertising in Portales, our radius is into Texas. And that's, it's a 25-mile radius into Texas, or if you go down to Hobbs, I'm gonna advertise in Hobbs, well, that's gonna hit West Texas. In
Yeah.
Texas, it's illegal down there, so that's the
Right.
question. Because I don't want the worst thing to happen is we don't wanna award lodgers tax funds and they advertise it and it says paid for by City of Portales lodgers tax.
Yeah, and
And then the governor of Texas is suing the city of Portales because
Right.
because we're advertising marijuana into, West Texas. Yeah, so.
And I'm sure that there's probably restrictions on, what lodgers tax can, just like the capital outlay, if you guys say no, then,
Well, just as an ad, because if you start out, I guarantee you, those guys are looking,
Yeah.
they're always looking for angles
Right. and they also have to remember that the city of Taos is a workplace.
Yeah, it is, but,
You know,
yeah, you're
but-
downtown. There's that-
Right, and I understand, but,
Yeah,
just,
We were not the elected body that voted the number of shops. that are-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
That's unbelievable.
yeah, so,
It's one going into Aaron's now. Aaron's disclosed, I'm like, so are we gonna have a weed shop in there next?
oh, that'd be a big
Well,
one.
yeah, that's good.
That's what you see.
Yeah, they have a fast response.
Yeah. I'm just joking, but no, I mean, any other questions, anything else?
Do you have anything else? I think we've got one thing we need to get to, Monica.
Oh, my chat. Thank you. No, we're good.
and we do wanna thank y'all for, giving us the opportunity to, present who we are. Another thing is thank y'all for the patience. We are trying to do our best, or we are doing our best. And we would like to do this differently, where everybody has the opportunity. Legal wise,
Yeah, well,
get the
you guys
opportunity.
are
of hearing,
fixing it. That's.
and we just wanna, if y'all have any information or more information that we need, we would gladly.
Honestly, meeting with you guys and hearing you, especially you two, since you've been present with this committee for so long. It's been a big help to me and Melissa.
Yeah, and I'll get you that information, but I mean, the biggest thing for me is just. Same way I work at Easter, let's just fix it and move forward, because there was a lot of, I'll tell you guys, if you look back on the records with Samuel, he did it good. I mean, he ran it very strongly and we had no problems, and I'm not trying to point a finger at anyone, but it did drop off the last couple of years, so in terms of communication. Advertising and how stuff was awarded, and it was like. I was like shocked when I went back and go, we haven't gotten a check either, because Carl was like pulling his hair out going, we don't have any money, where's, he was pulling. That's the one thing of advice I'll let you guys know is making sure the reimbursements are getting out easier, because the chamber was. I mean, he couldn't get funds freed up, and we'd have discussions, if you talk to Alden, Merritt too, we would have discussions, going, we can't get the money ordered.
And when it's a reimbursement thing that
Yeah.
you've been awarded, that is
Yeah.
the most frustrating.
That's the
thing.
hardest thing, yeah.
Like, we spent it thinking we were gonna get the shot.
Yeah, I basically had it, we're in a conversation, we can't spend money right now, John, and I go, why not? Oh, we haven't been awarded the last 2 years, I go, oh crud, let me go get this done, so that's why I was on you guys going, that, so I appreciate this helps us out, so. So, but that's one thing to just watch is have stuff submitted, and we'll be better too, we were a little late 2 years ago submitting ours, but. The chamber especially because what we awarded them helps with their operating costs, so that's stuff that they. Just pass it on to the other boards.
And I will say that I was, very excited to get, different committee members in, so that way there's different opportunities. Get application in and advertisement and so I'm grateful and we will do our best and we need to do whatever we can to make a difference. And know that the city of Portola is not something to slow and what we're trying to get back to.
Just bring him up so he can
So-
play basketball.
Applications are balanced in MDOT. We got about 9 more firemen, that's just for that job.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at the other job.
We're good, we.
Anybody else having?
No, do we need to call anything or adjourn or we get motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn,
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second. We're good. All right, thank you, Jeff.